Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Calgary Barbell for another episode of Form Check Friday, the show where we take your user-submitted videos, we pop them up on this screen behind me somehow. It's magic, really. And I take a look at them, we walk you through some corrections, and try to help you guys lift a little bit better and learn what to look for maybe when analyzing your own technique, or the technique of your training partners, perhaps. Now, before we get started here, general housekeeping. If you guys are interested in sending in your videos, please send them to formcheckfriday@gmail.com. Don't send them to any of our other email addresses because that is a pain in the butt. Please send them to formcheckfriday@gmail.com. We will use a random number generator to select our email submissions. We pull the videos up 5 at a time on these videos weekly, and we also do a live stream, so make sure to tune in on Fridays for the live version of Form Check Fridays. We usually do it about midday, sometime between noon and 2 MST, Mountain Standard Time. So if that works for you, cool. If not, we will be posting some of them up afterwards for you guys to peruse and, you know, be able to view. Couple announcements as well before we get started. I want to remind you guys about the seminars we have going on in Europe. We have a seminar in Basingstoke outside of London, and we have a seminar in Villeneuve in France. We will be there in April and early May, so if you guys are interested in checking those out, head over to calgarybarbell.com and click on the seminars link, and you can purchase tickets online. It's as easy as pie. Also, if you guys are in the Calgary area, we are going to be hosting a small sort of clinic series of group training events that are going to include programming and a lot of really great knowledge and information from our coaching staff for first-time lifters. I'll be posting some information about that before this video comes out, so head to calgarybarbell.com, and right next to the seminars, if you're in the Calgary area, you'll be able to register to come out and be taken through what we're calling learning lifting. So check that out. Without further ado, we're going to get into our form checks for today. So our first one here comes from, I'm going to butcher this guy's name, Jedrzej. Probably a terrible pronunciation of his name. So I apologize for that, but I'm doing my best over here. I'm going to make sure sound is off. It is. Cool. All right, so let's take a look at this Sumo Deadlift here. For context, said he switched to sumo a few months ago, but still can't find a comfortable or the most powerful position. He feels like he's losing all tension in his low back and just pulling it from the ground. Let's take a look. All right, so first we're noticing the hips are pretty low here. Oh, I forgot to change the scene. There we go, guys. I'm gonna put myself over here somewhere for now too. All right, so back to it. We've got a pretty low start position, which I think is maybe part of the cause here. So if we were to move these hips up a bit and change this angle, I know I can't draw a straight line to save my life here, but if we move those hips up a little bit, you'd probably be able to get a little bit better back extension. You'd be able to bring these knees back a bit and start with a little bit more tension into the bar, which is often something that we're looking for. So I can see with that hips low position, the knees are pretty far forward. It's going to push that bar out in front of you and probably cause you to get that feeling of losing the tension in the low back, losing the lats and all that kind of stuff. Just finding it really hard to get a good sort of position to start with. So that would be my advice for you is, what am I doing? I'm hitting spacebar all over the place. Sorry guys, this is kind of a new format still, so we're still figuring out exactly what I'm doing here. I'm not quite as fluent with, all these new fancy capabilities that we have. So like I said, we'll try to get those knees back. With that, the hips are going to come up higher, and that should allow you to get a bit better back extension and pack those lats down. Now hopefully you guys can kind of see what I mean with my rudimentary drawings, but that would be my advice for you. And I'm going to try this one more time. Jedrzej. I'm sorry, man. I'm doing my best over here. All right, so Our next submission comes from Tristan, and I'm going to pull up your email here. Let's see, Tristan. He said, thanks for the autograph. I actually signed a shirt for him. One of his friends was in the gym. Not something I'm very used to at this point, doing the whole autograph thing, but it's kind of cool. It's cool that people would want something like that. So he's from Quebec, an AMRAP, so only the first 4 are shown out of the 7 reps. Tristan, doing some deadlifts, and I opened it in the wrong window. Let's try this one more time. Tristan. Boom. All right, here we are. So Tristan, let's take a look at your deadlift and see what's going on, man. So pretty round back puller. Again, nothing inherently wrong with that. I mean, all told, that looks like a pretty solid deadlift to me, honestly. I think that we could work on, and we'll see it kind of here, making sure that we're anchoring the lats right here. As we kind of get rolling into the deadlift, we're starting to see, you can see that position change. So we pull the lats in, as the pull starts, the lats come out. So we're losing that starting position a little bit. Now, obviously, one of the things you could do is work on try to maintain a neutral spine or get into a neutral spine position. But I have a feeling that if you try to change that and correct that and take those big steps, you're going to need to deload right back and sort of start treating it as a separate movement. And that might not be conducive to your goals. So I think the biggest thing here is going to be to try to maintain a little bit more tension. Pull the slack out of the bar a little bit better. It looks like you're kind of in position, and then you pull, and then the tension of the bar kind of makes the connection with your body. So I would work on pulling the slack out of the bar better, and generally speaking, it's going to be from that shoulder joint, pulling the lats in, and making sure that we're loading up the hips and hamstrings as you initiate the pull, and making good use of that push feeling off the floor. So those would be the biggest things I'd work on. And other than that, it looks pretty damn good. Now, you guys are probably wondering, like, oh, his back was bent. He had a round back, and that is, again, not inherently a bad thing. There are a great number of very strong round back deadlifters. There are a great number of round back deadlifters that use huge weights regularly and suffer no extra risk to injury from a rounded back. So a flat back is not always better. In some cases, yes, we can take those necessary steps, especially if somebody is sort of at the beginning of their powerlifting journey, and you want to take those steps. But some people are just stronger with a rounded back. It changes the strength curve of the lift a little bit. You're going to have a tougher time at lockout versus off the floor with a neutral back deadlift. But it's just the way it is. Now, I'm not going to tell this guy, okay, deload the empty bar and let's get you a flat backed, because that's not the most conducive coaching advice. Our next email comes from Tom. Where are you, Tom? Did I lose you somewhere? Anyways, Tom Davidson's doing some deadlifts here. We're going to pop him up. Boom, boom. All right. So, Tom, let's see what's going on with your deadlift, man. So, and this is a great example of a very flat back deadlifter. Again, nothing inherently better about his deadlift, but he is able to maintain a good spine position. Now, you'll notice very slightly, we're still seeing some rounding in that low back there. The biggest thing that I'm seeing right off the hop is I would definitely discontinue the touch and go reps, especially if you're training for a maximal lift. The name of the game in the deadlift is starting from a dead stop. So that was a great rep, but the touch and go is not going to do any favors in your strength off the floor. So that'd be the first thing that I would fix and adjust, is to make sure that you're starting every rep from a dead stop when you do. Other than that, honestly, technique looks pretty solid. We got good packed lats. Now, one thing that I would potentially work on here is we've got this really good sort of arms long position here. And as we get into the deadlift, we're actually kind of pulling up and back. We're getting a little bit shrugged. Now, if we could get these shoulders to hang just a little bit lower, again, that sort of arms long cue, we want to reverse shrug, pull those lats down, those shoulder blades down into those back pockets. I think that's going to help you trim your range of motion a little bit, help you maintain a little bit more of an advantageous position as you initiate the movement off the floor. and I think will probably go a long ways for you. Try to get out of the habit of using the shoulders and kind of rolling the shoulders as you go through the lift. Try to lock those shoulders down and think arms long. Lengthen those arms, my man. Other than that, deadlifts look pretty darn good. Our next one is from Eliza. Now, Eliza's submitting a 3-rep max bench press video. She'd like to do a meet in the foreseeable future, but has never had a coach. Of all the lifts, she feels the least comfortable with bench press. She's only been benching for a year and a half. Finds it a hard lift technique-wise. Cool. She wants to know if she's setting up and pressing correctly. So let us take a look-see. All right, Eliza, what we got going on here? So let's start from the start with setup. So we can see, maybe not the greatest angle, but we can see what we need to here. So we can see the shoulders are definitely retracted really hard, so pulled into each other across the bench like this. But one thing I would like to see more of is trying to pull those shoulders down, so a little bit more depression. Now, when we're talking about the shoulder blades, we're talking about the scapula, we're talking about a couple of major movements when it comes to positioning in the bench. And we have protraction, which is the forward movement of the shoulder blades. We have retraction, which is pulling them back, which is what you're doing really well. And then we also have elevation and depression. So elevation is the upward movement of the shoulder blades, and depression is the downward movement of the shoulder blades. Kind of the same thing I was talking to Tom about. Now, I think that you could do a little bit better job of the depression of the shoulder blades specifically, just to lock that back in a little bit tighter and potentially put those shoulders in a bit better advantaged position. So let's see if that happens here as we set up. So we get a little bit there, a little bit there. Okay, she's got one of those cool like sliding racks that actually pops out. You see the bar, or the uprights kind of move there actually as she sets against the bar, slides out, which is really cool. I've lifted on racks like that a couple times and it kind of just throws me off. I'm not used to it, but yeah, I think that depression is going to be the biggest thing here. It also looks like as you unrack the bar, we maybe lost a little bit of positioning. So there, we had some good leg drive there. We're kind of pushing through the legs, and then as we unrack the bar, we're kind of just staying flat. Now, ideally, and this is kind of a cool angle to illustrate this from, we want to be working to extend the knee joint. So using the quads to essentially push yourself back up the bench like this. What that's going to do is it's going to press you up onto your shoulder blades, which is going to in turn depress the shoulder blades. You can see it's a big circle here. I'm just drawing all over the screen. But yes, basically pressure up this way is going to increase the arch. It's going to depress the shoulder blades further, which is something that we're looking for. So I think using leg drive a little bit more efficiently and effectively throughout your bench press is going to be helpful as well. So leg drive to push yourself up, bring that chest up to meet the bar. And also if you're looking to compete, I would work on getting some pauses on those reps. Basic mechanics look good. It looks like your shoulders are moving well. Your bar path is pretty good. I just think, yeah, the biggest thing is going to be that leg drive. Like I said, pushing yourself up the bench. So you see that pressure there that was created when you pushed like that, and the angle of the torso as she puts her feet on the bench and presses like that. So that's the kind of position we want. We want to create a bit of a decline like this in the back to give the shoulders a bit of an advantage when it comes to pressing. And we want to try to maintain that. See how she's kind of flattened out here? But yeah, that would be the biggest things. So I would work on your leg drive throughout and try to make it a constant tension. There's a really big, large number of people who like to kind of use leg drive and they're soft and not as engaged leg drive wise on the way down, and then they kind of use this like big leg drive jolt, and that's often when we see bar path inconsistencies. We see the butt coming up off the bench. What I like to coach people is to use leg drive consistently throughout the descent, the pause, and the press, and use that to kind of push yourself up onto your traps so that you can increase your arch, so that you can increase the tightness of your positioning. And yeah, that should all go a long ways for you. Our last one of the day is going to come from Valentin, and I have Valentin's email somewhere. Maybe I don't. All right, Valentin. And he's doing some deadlifts. Here we go. Let's get my face out of the way. All right. So looking good. Okay. So pulling into a really sort of upright extended position here, starting here. But I don't necessarily think that we're, I mean, you have really long legs, man. So one of the things I would try to do is, I don't know if you have any room to move your feet out a little bit wider, but to allow yourself to get that torso a little bit more upright so that we're not getting pulled out of position. And you can see, you get a little bit back behind the bar actually as you initiate the pull. So here, really good position. If we can get this knee extension to just sort of push down and keep the shoulders exactly where they are instead of this. So you tried to pull back too early. And that's one thing I see is a lot of sumo deadlifters do, is they try to pull back to become more upright as the first movement off the floor. Now, I mean, it might work for some people, but I think generally speaking, what we want to try to do is stay over the bar, use a push, because you can see what happens here in terms of positioning is we're good position, and then we pull back more. You can see he kind of pulls into the bar, and the knees right here. Watch the bar and the shin here too. I'm gonna clear all this. Just watch right here. Watch what his knee angle does to his shins and the bar. See, it pushes it out in front. So instead of that bar coming straight up, he's now pushed his knees forward into the bar, and that's causing the bar to drift out in front of him, which is causing him to lose positioning in his back. So, good position. Bar kicks forward, we try to pull too upright, and then we lose position in the back. Now let's see if the same thing happens on rep 2. So same kind of thing, except even here, we're pulling in with a different position through the trunk. We're pulling in with a lot more flexion in the back, trying to almost tuck the hips under. And I think that's generally a result of a lifter trying to get their hips too close to the bar and exaggerating that cue of hips close to the bar, which is something a lot of sumo lifters say, and I think in some circumstances is very useful as a cue, but I think here it's being over exaggerated. So pulling in, and you can see we're kind of getting tucked under in the pelvis there. And again, if we just watch right here, we can see, again, pulling back too early, the knees push the bar out away from him, and then right around here, look how far out over the bar he is, and it's really far out over his toes. So if we watch this first lockout, you can see that, watch his foot right here as he goes to lock out. And I know I'm getting really sort of intense here, but hopefully this is the kind of stuff you guys are looking for. So he bumps that bar out in front of him. And this is not to pick you apart, Valentin. I think that your basic mechanics are really good, but hopefully by showing you this analysis, there are a few things that you can pick up to try to work on. I'm not by any means trying to make an example of you for doing things poorly. I think your deadlift is quite good in general, to be honest, but I think there are a few very sort of fine point things that we can work on, and I just want to highlight those things to show everybody sort of how we can do better. So now watch how we're over the bar here because it's gotten out in front from that contact with the shins there, like I was showing you guys earlier. And now we're locking out, and you can see, watch right there, his foot kind of rolls forward, and then he has to really catch himself. Same thing on the second lockout. We're really far forward, and we're having to really work hard to get back on his heels. So let me take a few steps back here, break it all down, and give you some sort of take-home things here. So, really good position to start with, right here, good position. Try to stay over the bar, find that feeling of pushing the floor away, and don't worry about trying to get more upright as you start the lift. Try to stay over the bar. Some pause deadlifts might be pretty useful here, but think about pushing the floor away more than pulling back on the bar. And I think that's gonna be a big thing. try to keep those lats locked, push the floor away, stay in position over the bar. And then when you come up here, those knees lock, great, good timing on that. But you're gonna end up further back on your heels. That bar's not gonna be pulling you forward onto your toes, and you're gonna be a lot more comfortable through the lockout. And that, my friends, is Form Check Friday. If you guys are interested in being featured on the channel, go ahead and send those emails to formcheckfriday@gmail.com. That is it for us. If you guys have questions or comments about anything you saw in the video, go ahead and ask them below. If you have training related questions, we also do a question of the week where we answer those in depth, ideally using some studies and some actual literature to back up our answers. And we put those out once a week. So go ahead and ask questions in the comment box below. Leave a like if you liked it, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you guys next time.